Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Life. I'm Patrick Ream, and I'm joined by Justin Pusser and Adam Chandler, as always. Gentlemen, it's been a little while. It's been a couple weeks. How you guys been?
We're good, man. How are you? It doesn't matter how he is, right, Adam? Thanks, buddy.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, the late 90s called. They want the joke back, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Oh, man, he burned your dad.
Hey, don't ever talk about my dad like that.
Well, we don't attack families in here, Pat. I'd say nice things about your mom. Your sister doesn't like me for no reason. I'm still nice about her.
How was it the late 90s? Like, The Rock is very relevant. He's like the highest paid actor in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now
The Rock might be the most, famous person in the world.
He's Beyonce for boys.
That's a good point, man. Does he have the same, defensive fans the way Beyonce does? You ever notice that?
He doesn't need defensive fans.
That's a good point. He could just fend them all off himself.
I don't know if there's a single person out there who doesn't like The Rock in some way.
That's a good point, man. I can't think of someone who... I'm sure there's someone.
Well, there's always someone.
But his logic is probably completely broken.
Yeah, it's like one guy in some dark basement somewhere. Damn you, Dwayne Johnson!
Steve Blackman should have been champ.
Ken Shamrock should have been champ.
I love it. You guys had anything interesting? I know Justin probably looking forward to the draft.
Yeah, I've been watching the NFL draft all weekend with a lot of my buddies came down. I'm a big football fan, so that's what I spent my week doing. And I'm sure Adam was all in on Avengers this weekend.
Yeah, man, I saw Endgame, the culmination of 10 years and 22 movies. It was everything it needed to be and more.
And I was talking to Adam about this on the way over to Pat's and right before we started recording. I find it interesting that in the comic book world, people really always are very happy with the movies.
Yeah.
Everyone else in the world is always pissed. I appreciate that positive outlook there. That's nice.
I think a lot of it, too, is a lot of us, especially myself included, are very grateful we're even getting them. So, 10-year-old me who's... Because, again, this wasn't the status quo back when I was a kid or even a teenager. Liking comic books and being into superheroes at 16 was still kind of weird in 2004 or whatever. But
all of those kids are adults like you now.
Yeah, and now it's super popular and everyone's watching them. So for me, who always liked it, I'm just super grateful I'm even getting most of these.
And I was saying, comparing it to wrestling and wrestling fans, you guys don't read spoilers and you enjoy the outcomes and you're not critiquing and complaining, and it just makes for a more entertaining form of entertainment. It's
absolutely, and there are the critiquers out there on a lot of the online forums and stuff, but it's usually it's never really to the point of how it is with professional wrestling.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it's more of a minority than majority type feeling.
Yeah.
Where in wrestling, I feel like the majority, or I like to call it the loud minority, is just hateful. They just don't like the stuff they choose to spend their money on. Where like you said, all you guys who were comic book fans as kids are now adults. You choose to spend your money and make these movies some of the highest grossing movies ever. But you don't then complain about it. If you wanted to complain about it, you'd probably just stop going.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And I do really appreciate the fan base because I know you went. Did you would go Thursday opening day?
Yeah, I went Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
I'm not able to go till tomorrow morning, but thankfully nothing has been spoiled.
I'm glad you told me because man, I would have talked about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that too. But there was a Twitter post and stuff of people saying, "Hey, please don't spoil Endgame." Even Marvel itself was sharing on their Twitter, "Don't spoil Endgame."
I believe it trended,
stuff.
Right?
Yeah, it did for a while, and I absolutely love it because it actually is letting me, even if I do go on social media to promote the podcast and stuff, I haven't seen anything, and therefore I can go into tomorrow cool, I'm completely fresh, I can still see it all and enjoy it all for what it is.
Right, and it can be very hard to avoid that, even if you're not really thinking, because social media is so, in your face all the time. I know sometimes if I don't watch Raw on Monday and I open my phone Tuesday morning, I'm kind of
you've seen Raw.
I'm kind of screwed. Yeah,
it's kind of how it is with Game of Thrones too.
Yeah, and I've noticed unfollowing, muting, using the tools that social media gives you really can help that. But you have to be active with it too. So it's a lot of work almost. And I hate social media, so doing extra work on it doesn't sound like fun to me.
Yeah. Well, McCoy from from the Eagles actually posted 3 spoilers on his Twitter.
Oh my God.
And Twitter struck them down and like removed them from him, and people were like giving him backlash for it.
Well, yeah.
Wait. Twitter removed spoilers to a movie, but won't remove like all the other shit on Twitter.
Listen,
That is crazy. That is fucking asinine.
To put it into context a little more for you, Justin, there are some analysts that say this movie's on track to possibly break 1 billion opening weekend.
Jesus.
Well, some theaters, like I know one of the local theaters by my my father-in-law, they aren't showing a different movie, and they're showing a new screening every 10 minutes. So like by that numbers, if you spread that throughout the country, anyone doing anything like that, yeah, there's nothing competing with it.
My dad texted me and he said that he saw that a couple of AMCs, or probably more than a couple, like they just weren't closing. They were just on a 24-hour open loop.
Yeah, my my ex-roommate Devi, I almost used the word friend on accident. He works at a movie theater, and before the NFL draft, which started at 8:30 Thursday, he went and like helped out at the movie theater because it was so hectic Thursday.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It was crazy that the tickets for the opening day sold out in 20 minutes online, like nationwide, which is insane.
They did not sell it.
Man, that's something I miss hearing. Do you remember when you used to hear like WrestleMania sold out in 14 seconds? Where'd that go?
Let me correct that. There's no way the tickets sold out in 20 minutes, and here's why. A lot of us were on a 4 to 5 hour hold on Fandango because the site crashed.
That's crazy.
And I waited in the queue the whole time. Like, even when the queue told me that it was paused and I didn't know if it was ever going to come back, I wouldn't turn it off because I was scared to lose my place in line. And thankfully I didn't, because when it came back up, I only had to wait like another 30 minutes, and then you had 20 minutes in the queue. Like, once your time was come, you had 20 minutes to get your tickets. So I bought tickets right away. Then I looked for better seats at a different theater, bought those tickets, and returned the first tickets that I got.
Smart, you're holding your place.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yo, when you said Fandango, I can't help but think of this one like segment on Raw once where Tensai and Brodus Clay are in the ring, and Tensai screams to Fandango in the most serious tone, "Hey, Fandango!" And it is the funniest fucking clip of audio there is. I will find it and send it to you guys and tweet it out. It is fucking hilarious. But thanks for that little trigger of memory. That was great.
You're welcome. I actually like Fandango, and I like Tensai a lot. I've met him.
I dig him. I dig his work. Yeah. I actually like wish people bought into him more, because I think he was pretty fucking badass. Honestly, he like pinned Cena clean on Raw.
Yeah, I think he was very good. I think I don't know. Like you said, sometimes wrestling fans are.
Well, they didn't like that he had Japanese scripture written on his face and was clearly a white dude. I mean, we got Nakamura afterwards, so
that's fair.
I guess if that was their goal.
Oh, yes. Interesting side question. If either of you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, man. Does everyone know I have a superpower? Because, like, if I'm going to get caught with my superpower, I need to know.
Oh, that's a good point. I wasn't thinking about that. Let's just say, hypothetically, you're not going to get caught.
See, that changes it. Because now it's not so altruistic. Because like if everyone was like, "Oh, you're a superhero. What's your superpower?" I'd probably heal people.
Oh,
that would be like, who would hate me? I could even heal the villains.
You're just playing for every side.
Well, they all have problems. Like that's like, isn't that the ultimate superhero, right? One who can heal.
Yeah, one who does more.
And theoretically, if we were to dive into it, he'd be able to heal himself. So if we were like to really expand on his powers, like depending on who was like writing these powers or creating them, I'm assuming they're coming from Justin's own mind, but we could even make them even cooler than just healing other people, and you just have a constant stream of this healing energy inside you. So you never, anytime you ever get hurt, you just instantly heal yourself, and then you can pass that along to others.
Yeah, and then like the best villains would figure out what makes me heal, and they could try to take that from me, but it'll never work.
You're too good. All right. Well, if that said, if you can get caught, what if you could?
Oh, I don't know, man. There's a lot of weird shit I'd probably do. I don't know. Like, I'd probably like have the ability to make anyone like fall in love with me. That'd be a fun one.
You already have
just because
I
that's what I'm saying. Like, but if I was a foolproof plan, I would be able to manipulate everyone. I mean, that's fun. I don't know. Like if everyone loved you, they would do anything for you. That's kind of crazy. That's like really crazy power if you think about it. Like I guess what I'm saying is if I was a super villain,
yeah,
I would have the power to make everyone love me.
No, all right, I like it.
It's pretty cool.
All right, Adam. We'll do both for you too. If everyone was gonna know that you had a superpower, what superpower would you want?
Invulnerability. So I just can't be hurt.
But then also, would you not be able to like? Also, me and you would be good. Like my love villain, like you're invulnerable, so like you would have a hard time loving.
Yeah.
Oh,
possibly.
Man.
Plus, the way I would look at invulnerability is, I would constantly like. So if I went to the gym, I would constantly recover quicker, so I could eventually give myself super strength through just training all the time.
Oh yeah.
Because I would constantly be improving. Because I'm invulnerable, so I can't be hurt. So my muscles are always repairing themselves.
And this is where my love villain comes in, because I could use his mind against him, because he's invulnerable.
Yeah. And then he traps me into falling in love with him, so I'll do anything for him, and then I gotta find a way out of it. I gotta find a way to break the curse.
He could almost be like my little, like, like my little Rottweiler, and then, like, eventually he realizes, like, I could also just bite this owner, and like, oh, shit. And now the heel's on the defensive. Yeah, no, this is good stuff.
We're gonna write a comic book, everybody.
Yeah, this is really good stuff.
Do you think you'd do the same if you weren't able to be seen? Like,
So
no, ask it differently. If you were a super
if
villain,
I was a super villain,
okay, fine. If you were a super villain.
See, mine would be very similar to Justin's, because Justin said he'd make everyone fall in love with him. I think I would use like telepathy.
Yeah.
Telepathy or no, not telekinesis, telepathy. Like be able to not only read others' minds, but be able to like not full-blown control them, because I think that's a little too overpowered, but if I could influence them through the mind, like I could put ideas in their head that would influence them to do.
Maybe even anticipate what they were going to do. So
I can read your mind 100%, so I know exactly what you're thinking, when you're thinking it, but I can also just put in little sparks of influence in there to kind of change your path of what you want to do.
I like that.
Because I got to make it challenging for myself. If I can control what you do, then this whole thing's boring.
So Pat's would just be magic, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He would just, I'm just get good at magic.
Hero, supervillain, magician.
Hero, supervillain. Yep. Just I would be better at magic. That's all he wants.
Real magic.
We also do have a growing list of karaoke songs for Pat. We might hold a live concert.
We have to.
Ty Thomas said he would pay, so we have one person drawing.
We have one fan who wants a live episode of Wrestling with Life, and the whole episode is just a live Pat concert.
How do you feel about that, Pat?
Oh, you have two, actually, because Jess is actually upset that it hasn't happened already. She's already wanted me to sing a song on this podcast.
There you go. Two people.
We're drawing big, brother. We just need a venue.
That's it. You already draw more than Eddie Hawkins. I love Eddie. Hi, Eddie.
Oh, man, that's fucked up.
That's fucked up. You have no idea what fucked up is then.
All right, well, gentlemen, I had you come over today so we could talk about personal heroes. I kind of want to know who inspires you guys, who has inspired you guys at some point. Because we've talked about, like, Ramon, and we've talked about, other bosses and stuff. But I was just curious if there's anyone else in your life that has really had some sort of influence on you and helped you, grow as a person.
It's inspiration's interesting, I feel like, Adam, because I feel like depending on what you're talking about, you can find inspiration in many areas. So, like, for example, if you do a lot of things, like, I don't know, Pat, what inspired you to be a magician? You know what I mean? Because that's specific to that. Does that make sense? So, like, you weren't necessarily, like, he wasn't a personal inspiration in life, but he inspired you to do magic.
Yeah, like David Copperfield.
Like, that was your inspiration. But that's not necessarily like, oh, my inspiration is David Copperfield. It's just that he inspired you to do magic. Like, I play the drums. I was inspired by John Bonham, who is the drummer of Led Zeppelin, because when I heard it, I was like, oh, man, this guy's dope. I want to try to do this. So, like, that's what inspiration is. Whereas, like, I also feel like heroes are maybe people that we look up to no matter what the situation because of how they handle it. For example, like, I put my grandpa in that light. He was a man he was born with, wasn't born with one leg. He lost his leg when he was like 10 years old. in an accident. Being a kid, he was like climbing a building, and a wrecking ball came through, and like he lost his leg.
Jeez.
And, like he lived, but he lost his leg. And so like when he was marrying my grandma, and I've mentioned in past episodes, like they were like incredibly in love. They were one of those like old school love stories. Her parents didn't want her to marry him because they said, Sally, you like bowling, you like swimming, you like dancing. How are you going to do these things with a man with one leg? And my grandpa just learned how to do them all. I was like, well, that won't be an issue. And so he's always had that mindset. Like when kids were scared of like him having one leg, he would offer to race them down the block on his crutches and win. Like and he would endear himself to everyone that way. So like as far as like a hero or an inspiration of someone I look up to, like I truly as a kid always thought like there's not a goddamn thing I can't do with two legs, and I just to this day believe that. So like that to me is a hero as opposed to like an inspiration. Like you can take inspiration from many things. I think in the wrestling world, we take inspiration from people all the time, but I would never necessarily label them a hero or an inspiration. Does that make sense?
No, I agree. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's...
So just using that as we move forward, I think they're two separate conversations to have.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Because if we were... so to take us back to the rapper episode, if we were talking about inspiration, well, 50 Cent was an inspiration to me to be a rapper because he got shot 9 times and lived. That dude's a badass.
Yeah, no, like this is exactly what I mean. Like, you know, in all of our like, you know, things we enjoy, like you take inspiration from somebody and gets you into it.
So, but I would never call him a hero.
Right.
That's fair. All right.
Just to clarify, because I think a lot of people have their own interpretation of that like inspiration word.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as like heroes go, mine's also my grandfather. I was actually thinking about this on my way home from the gym this morning before this podcast, because man, it's definitely not as cool as the story of being on one leg and beating people in foot race. It's really cool.
Yeah. Cool in different ways, probably.
It is cool in different ways because he was my whole childhood. He was a light for me, in a time that wasn't super happy. I was a happy kid, but it wasn't happy circumstances. Like everyone's parents, my parents split apart, but that wasn't what it was. It was, I never really got the attention from my dad that I always was trying to achieve. He's not the type of person to say I love you. It's more showing it. But when you're a kid, he didn't show it in ways that I understood at all. Yeah. Now I understand it being an adult, but it doesn't resonate, especially with a child. So, you know, and I would get in trouble a lot all the time, and I was always grounded. So I didn't have a lot of fun. I did, but I didn't, because, you know, I could play outside with my friends and stuff like that, but there's a lot of just, I don't even like think about my childhood much because of it. Yeah. But my grandfather was always that light, no matter what. So when you talk about a hero, no matter what they do, that was my grandfather. If he was getting in trouble with like my grandmama over something, I didn't see any of that because it was just, you know, he was my hero. And then he ended up dying of cancer in 2010, which, you know, sucks.
Yeah.
But even throughout all that, like, just a positive person. I had my first drink with him.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. So, and I was 18 at the time, but we went down to Texas, and my first beer I ever had was with him. He was an electrician, and he took one job where he traveled a lot, and he was in Chicago the weekend of my 21st birthday, and he called me that morning to say happy birthday to me, and, you know, told me I had to get back to work. We went out later that night, and guess who was actually there?
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, like totally surprised me. I had no idea. That's who he was. So when it comes to heroes, my pop is definitely my hero, for sure.
That's awesome too, because I think the description is who you are, and that's how I feel about me and myself and my grandfather. Like when you have a hero like that or someone you look up to, and for both of us, it not being our dads and maybe that older, like old school, like mentality that we both kind of have. Yeah. We're both like we're very gentlemanly. That adds up to me. Like you sound like you would be a version of your grandfather that's in 2019, and I'm the same way. Like my grandpa, how much he loved my grandmother and put her on a pedestal was just different than my dad and my mom. Like they're just different people, and that's how I like to feel about Danielle. Like you guys know, I mean, I talk Danielle up to the, you know, as much as I can. She's my favorite person, and that's how I see my grandpa with her. So like, yeah, I think we both try to take away what we want from the people we looked up to. That's cool.
Yeah, you and your grandfather, lady killers, killing other people's relations.
Hey, man. Yeah.
out shining.
You got to be the best at something. Why not love?
That's a good thing.
What about you, Pat?
Yeah, what about your hero?
I want to know your hero. Who'd you look up to?
It's genuinely probably my brother more than anything else, because my dad passed away when I was like not even 3. And that forced all of us to grow up, I think, a lot faster than we intended to. But my brother, in particular, really had to grow up a lot faster. He's about 7 years older than me. And he went from, being like just another kid to, oh, I'm the oldest male in this house now. Like,
right. No, yeah, I get that.
It instinctively hit him. But he always tried really hard to be a good influencer on me as I was growing up. I think because he kind of knew he had to be. Like,
well, yeah, I think sometimes, and I say this about my grandma because people a lot of times when I was in high school would mention like, man, I can't believe you would drop out to take care of somebody. And it's, you don't, it's not something that you think about like that. Like when you're thrust into a circumstance, you react. And it sounds like that's what you guys were in. And you don't plan to be able to handle that. You have to handle that.
And then I'll give a shout out to my mom too. My mom did, I think, a very, very good job of making up for that deficit of my father passing away. She did a fantastic job. She was able to help keep me in things I wanted to do, and even some things I didn't want to do. But she knew like I need, like taking a fair crack at it, I might be interested, and ended up being interested in a lot of the things. She never shied away from doing the things that would be like socially considered more masculine, quote unquote. And was a good positive influence to me for that. And she just never let our circumstance dictate how we could be perceived or how we should perceive ourselves. Like there's a story she loves telling. I may have said it already. I don't remember. But we were poor. Like admittedly, we were poor when I was young. And one time our church came to give us Thanksgiving dinner because we couldn't afford it. And at the time, I didn't really have a grasp on that. So I asked my mom, like, why are they bringing this to us? And my mom was like, well, it's something we need, and like we're lucky enough to be provided this. And I said, yeah, but why do we need it? And she was like, well, it's because we're poor. And I was like, well, we're not poor. She's like, well, honey, a lot of people would consider us poor. And I was like, but we're not poor. And I ran out of the house, and like I chased the lady from the church down, screaming, we're not poor, we're not poor. And my poor mom is like, oh my God, so embarrassed about this happening.
Don't call her your poor mom if you're going to talk about how you're not poor.
Sorry, my thoroughly embarrassed mom.
We were getting a little too serious. I had to lighten it up.
It was at this moment that Pat decided he was going to learn magic and change his circumstances forever.
Yeah. I tried to David Blaine my way out of that one.
Oh man, I was going to ask about your inspirations because it's going to be like, is it David Blaine or Chris Angel?
No, God, it's neither.
Well, then who would it be in magic? I wanted a real quick comment on something you said. Your mom knew what you wanted to do sometimes, even if you didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
We're talking about magic, right?
Yeah,
like she bought you the magic set.
She knew she bought me the magic set.
You didn't think you liked it, and here we are, 20 years later, and Pat's a magician.
So the reason I got the magic set actually was because of a comedian / magician, this guy named the Amazing Jonathan.
I know who that is.
And he did this really neat comedy special in the early 2000s. It was like one of the only times Comedy Central broke their normal 30-minute specials and did an hour-long special instead. And he did a bunch of he starts with very simple tricks and jokes to match the thing, but he ends his segment with a complete non-joke, actual legit serious magic trick where he swallows razor blades and then pulls them back out with a string. And I don't know, I'm sure there's there's obviously some way around it, but he's there's some level of legitimacy to it because he is cutting his mouth up doing at least the prep for it. So he's bleeding out of his mouth as he's pulling these series of 12 straight razors out of his
That's crazy,
out of his
yeah.
throat. I was just like, that is some cool shit.
See? We're slowly getting to the point that like Pat really does like magic.
Yeah.
He started with like, no, I don't get it.
It's not that I do enjoy magic. Like I enjoy the spectacle of it, but I know that I could never do it.
Eventually,
Not with that attitude.
It's a big return to magic. Like it's gonna.
It's gonna be a part of the karaoke show. It's gonna be a magic part too.
You know what it is? It's just two supervillains here. Justin's slowly making him fall in love. I'm slowly influencing him.
Yep.
And I'm just
Before we know,
him a magician.
loving Pat up there doing singing magic.
Yeah, it's got to be both. Since you like Jonathan the Magician, he did comedy and magic. You have to do singing and
Singing and magic. The mediocre Patrick.
I was gonna say it's gonna be awful either way.
The underwhelming.
Oh, the underwhelming.
The underwhelming Patrick Reed.
I love it.
Oh, that's awful. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. No, that whole story was just a testament to my mom, though, and how good she was at, like, again, like I said, never letting our situation dictate how we should feel.
And I think that's something I like about you, and I think we have in common, probably all of us.
Yeah.
Like, not only our moms being strong figures in our life, but not having that preconceived notion, like, not letting anyone put that on us. We all have a lot more depth than I think anyone that meets us at first glance realizes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, just one of those things that, same thing with my mom, like, we kind of grew up and we didn't have a ton of money, and you know, no one ever questioned who we were. Like, I could sit with, it's funny, I joke, and like Adam may have even seen it at times. Like in Jamesburg, I can go to the nicest house and eat dinner with the nicest and most, you know, the people with the most money. And I can also sit in a back alley with my dad and drink beers and no one's going to fuck with me. And that's just kind of a testament to like who I was and how I was raised. And all of us, I don't think ever think anyone's too good or too shitty to have a conversation or talk to us, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Adam in particular, just because I really want to hear it more than anything else. You're a big gym nut.
Yeah.
Who are some of your inspirations for the gym?
Oh, man. So,
Oh, this is a great question. You don't usually have those. That's a good question.
yeah, that is a good question.
Thanks.
So,
Asshole.
I didn't start getting serious into the gym until like maybe 2011, 2012, I think. At first, my inspiration was, you know, wrestling. So, it was The Rock, John Cena, Batista, guys like that. After getting very heavy into the bodybuilding culture and scene, I'd say these monsters. So the gym and my inspirations for it are actually, I want to put this disclaimer out there, it's not a great thing because it mentally screws with you. So right now, like the guys I look up to are guys that are just out of my league, which is both a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because I'm constantly striving for, you know, the unachievable.
Keeping you hungry.
But it's a bad thing because I'm striving for the unachievable. A lot of these guys are on all types of steroids and they have all kinds of genetics that I don't have. But guys like Phil Heath, Kai Green, those are guys I look up to for inspiration. You know, they're just monsters. There's also guys like a guy by the name of Chris Gethin. He's not a big monster, but I like a lot of his training philosophies and the way he looks at things, like the no excuses. He's kind of one of those no excuses guys, and he doesn't even really compete in bodybuilding, and he gives out a lot of free content on his website, despite the fact that he's also trying to sell his own line of supplements. But he's doing a lot of things that a lot of other guys aren't willing to do, and I think that's like increase others' knowledge while still trying to, you know, run his business. Even places like websites like bodybuilding.com used to have all these free programs for everyone to use, and then they put it behind a paywall, which was super shitty because at the time they didn't tell anyone. They didn't tell any of us, hey, we're gonna like start this pay feature. People woke up one day, went like, we're in the middle of a program. Wow. Yeah, we're in the middle of a program. Went to day 30 of their program, and by the way, it's $7.99 now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when you helped me get in shape, I ripped up a lot of weight, probably about 3 years ago. I was using some of those exact things from bodybuilding.com that you'd sent me.
Yeah, and they shut that down. But guys like him are continuing to release free to use video trainer programs. Like he has programs on there where there's a video every day, and they're signing people to their brand. and they're having them release trainers. I mean, it's not super frequent, but they're having them release trainers and same format. Hey, you need to put out a video every day of your workout because that's what I do for my people. So guys like him, I respect based off of just work ethic, what they the content they offer. But yeah, big inspirations for me in the gym, like Dwayne. Obviously, my dad, Dwayne Johnson, is a huge one.
One that Pat was making fun of earlier.
Yeah, the one that Pat was making fun of earlier.
So when The Rock listens to this, he's coming for you, Pat.
Exactly. When The Rock listens to this exact podcast.
He'll probably listen to the Love one instead first.
Definitely will.
That side note is actually our most downloaded episode.
Of course it is.
But then why don't we have the feedback we've been asking on it?
It's the super villain Justin Pusser and me. They saw the word love and they were like, that's the one.
So it is our most downloaded podcast.
That is
so if your friends just stopped reaching out to you at this point?
No, some of them still do. Again, as you said, either that one was one that's gonna be a very polarizing episode.
Did we get any negative feedback?
No, I have not received any negative.
So it wasn't all that polarizing.
And it's our most downloaded episode.
That's not.
Hey, anyone who's listening to this one, just give us feedback on the love episode. That's really near and dear to us.
That's an important one to us.
Yeah, we just really want to know what you guys thought of it.
I know Pat's friend Jess said she was questioning her own relationship.
I hope her boyfriend ain't listening to this.
I hope he is, 'cause you could do better, bud. Go listen to Love One. You'll get some tips.
Yeah, you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, I told you have
You'll
staged
also
everyone.
learn about how to force people to be accountable for something they can't possibly be accountable for.
Yeah, if nothing else, it'll make your relationship better. Accountability.
Accountability.
All the feedback I got on that episode was related to the first part of it. Very few people commented on the back end.
It's because they're all quietly like, I would love to go to the strip club with Justin Adam, but I don't want to say it because they make me go. That's where we're going to have the karaoke and magic show.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
At the strip club, yes. All right, it's settled. We'll set a date
It's
soon.
Pat in the middle, I want to pick one with at least 2 poles, and then Pat will be in the middle doing his magic set while in the middle of his karaoke, and then we just have 2 strippers on either end doing their pole dancing till Pat singing 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars.
Still insist on that.
While attempting to throw cards.
Yes.
But when he throws them, they just kind of float down to the ground.
Yeah, they kind of float almost as if they hit a fan that was blowing towards you.
Yeah.
Just kind of drop. I'm into it.
I'm not. But apparently it's going to be our first ever sold out live show.
The more we paint this picture, the more people are going to want it.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to go now?
You actually are using your supervillain powers now.
That's what's so great about these powers is we could tell you we're using them, but they're still going to work.
Yeah, that's true.
I love it. Arnold Schwarzenegger's not influenced.
Oh my gosh.
I really thought he was going to be.
He
Well, I
is.
cut him off, yeah.
I can't believe I missed that. Because that was such a broad question for me, so I was reaching to all aspects. Arnold absolutely is number one. I don't even know why I didn't say it. It just skipped my mind because I was thinking of current guys. No, Arnold's number one for sure.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid, that's been my hero. Well, okay, so we're gonna talk about heroes that are outside of
Right.
personal heroes. Arnold Schwarzenegger, my hero.
Yeah. And that makes sense. You're a movie guy. And
Yeah.
you like that stuff. Mine were always in sports.
My dream when I was a kid was I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be an action star.
And I was I wanted to be an athlete. I think everyone has those things. Did you have one, Pat? What did you want to be when you were little? Did you have a thing?
I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay, that makes sense.
What did we say in the beginning of this podcast when we started early on?
Go ahead.
Piece of shit?
Enlighten us. Yeah, piece of shit. Why'd you want to be when you were 4 or 5? You want to be a lawyer?
My mom she originally was a desk clerk for a trucking company.
Okay.
And then as she progressed in her career, she really wanted to be a nurse, but she never made it to college. She eventually went back and got a degree for that.
Good for her.
But
Cool.
she was a paralegal for a while for the Beasley firm that may or may not still be in Philly. I don't remember. I'm sure she'll correct me.
Is this a relation to Pam Beasley of The Officer?
No.
No? Okay.
Yo, I'll say it. I think Pam is a total terrible character in that show. But
My
we'll get
wife
into The
hates
Office.
her.
Yeah, we got to do a whole episode on The Office if we're going to do this.
If we do
can't
that, can
right
we
now.
also do one on Parks and Rec? 'Cause I love that show.
I love
They're going to
it.
be separate ones, but
Yeah.
yes.
I
'Cause there's
love
enough
both
time for both.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. And you know what? There's enough of our fans that love those shows.
I was going to say, if our fans have any other TV shows they like, that's the one that I think me and Adam share. Adam's a big movie guy, I'm a big sports guy, but we both love TV.
We both like TV. Yeah.
And music.
Yeah. But she was a paralegal, so for Take Your Child to Work Day, she would alternate taking me and my sister. So I got to see the law firm environment, and I just really thought it was like a cool, like high-powered profession. And then when I was in high school, I was like, oh, I could be a lawyer, and either I could be like a really good prosecution and get someone off of a charge that they were probably guilty of and then hate myself for that.
Right.
Or be a defensive lawyer and then not successfully defend someone I thought was innocent and then feel bad about that.
You just have a guilty conscience, really.
No, I would just hate to have that.
What's funny is the whole time he's telling us the story, I'm thinking about using my powers of evil to like influence people to think that what really happened was he watched the O.J. Simpson trial and was like, I want to be able to get people off for murdering their spouses.
Yeah, right? Right? That's exactly where you thought.
I was like, no, it would have been about the same age, actually, I guess, to be fair.
Yeah, no, my mom used to always say to me, because I'm very, I mean, as you know, and I think anyone that listens at this point knows, I love to argue. So my mom was like, you just be a fucking lawyer. Just be a fucking lawyer, Jim. All the time. I could hear her still to this day saying it, actually.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you were huge into baseball your entire life.
Yes.
So I was going to ask you, like, who in baseball inspired you?
So my grandfather that I talked about previously, he had like a den filled with like Yankees memorabilia, like tons of shit. So I was always one of those kids who liked like older baseball players. Like I'm a big fan of Lou Gehrig.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. To me, Lou Gehrig is unique because like Babe Ruth was and is to this day is revered as like the greatest baseball player of all time. Lou Gehrig played basically at the exact same time on the exact same team. Was probably the second or third best player in baseball the entire time. Very quiet, lived his life, was married, took care of his mom as she got sick when he was older. He played until the late 90s when Cal Ripken Jr. broke it. He had the record for most games played straight. Like, he just didn't get hurt, and if he did, he played. Yeah. That was always big to my mindset, like, moving forward. Like, that was my grandpa's favorite player, and that mindset of, like, just keep going. It doesn't matter what's wrong. Just keep going. And then that was kind of like a Lou Gehrig mindset, it seemed. Mm-hmm. So, like, I just kind of took that on. And, like, I've always been a big... I don't know why, but I have no problem being the second person, always. And what I mean by that is, I don't think I've ever been the best at anything I do, but I think I could be better than the best every time out. And I truly believe that, like, in baseball, even in football, like there was times like I played quarterback. I was the backup quarterback, but there was games that I would go in and I would light it up because I knew I could be better than the best on any day.
Would the word utility apply here?
Yeah, a bit. Like like
is
just
it consistency.
It's more consistency. Utility is the kind of like you can do everything. Oh, okay. Whereas like this was like like I would
so like maybe like a great support unit.
Yes, yes. Like I could supplement any situation. Like I knew
which is super useful in more than just sports, just like in anything.
Yeah. Like I knew I could find my fit where like because I feel like wrestling's an easy one for me to talk about, honestly. But like hockey for the area is a great comparison as well. Like in hockey, you're always gonna have your best player, but that best player is always maximized by having somebody who can protect him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In baseball, it's so true. And in baseball, like Lou Gehrig batted fourth, which meant they had to pitch to Babe Ruth, who batted third, because if they walked Babe Ruth, which was the right thing to do, they had to face Lou Gehrig. So they didn't walk Babe Ruth. Barry Bonds was somebody in baseball who, like, he broke a lot of records. Everyone's going to talk about steroids, but he was one of the best hitters of the early 2000s and late 90s, regardless. Yeah. He was breaking the record every year for walks in a season because no one was hitting behind him. That didn't happen to Babe Ruth because of Lou Gehrig, and no one thinks of Lou Gehrig as the best baseball player of all time, and he's okay with that. And I love that mindset. Yeah. So to me, it was like, that was always the guy for me, and that's always been my mindset is like, people in baseball, they know Lou Gehrig's a legend, so that matters. Yeah. It's the same with like, I forget the guy's name, because I'm not a big hockey person, but when Wayne Gretzky got traded, he made his best defenseman get traded with him. Yeah. Because he knew that he would get killed without that guy by his side. So, like, I think in a lot of walks of sports, life, everywhere, like, having that strong second in command is why great leaders and great, like, top guys exist. And I'm like very, very comfortable being in that role. As a kid, I always wore number 35 when I pitched because Mike Messina was a pitcher for the Yankees who never had great like stuff. He didn't have the best fastball. He didn't have the best anything. But every night out, they could win that game because he was pitching, which was like kind of like my mindset again. Like you're never a negative. You're never a liability. Just plug in and do your job. And just don't be a liability. And so like that. Those were my inspirations, those type of guys. But Lou Gehrig be at the top of the list, and then Mike Messina as well. I had like a big chain with the number 35 on it in high school because that's like what most of us that played baseball had. And it was a big thing for us.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Bulls when Jordan was on it. There was Pippen,
without Pippen,
Rodman around him. Like you had people that like on a different team could have been the star,
right?
But Jordan looks exponentially better because he has those people.
And those guys didn't mind. They maximize their ability to win, not their ability to be a star.
Yeah.
And like I'm a big Vikings fan, so like when they drafted Teddy Bridgewater a few years ago, that was a trait that I thought he had, and he kind of proved it this year. He was a free agent. He could have signed to be the starter of the Miami Dolphins, but he chose to be the backup of the New Orleans Saints because he likes the teammates. The team's a little bit stronger. The offense is a little bit better to what he can do. So rather than I need to be a star, he said, I want to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think there's just two different lines of thought. And I think that goes all the way up to wrestling. I mean, me and Adam are very opposite, and we love each other for it. But, like, I always said, like, Adam wants to be famous, and, like, that's awesome. And I support that. And he's the baby face, and he's the lead guy. But, like, I'm very happy being the guy who helps make Adam look like he's famous. You know what I mean?
That's what I was just about to say, too, because, like, I'm very in touch. Like, I feel like I'm a very self-aware person. So one thing, like, when we wrestled each other for a while, I was very open about, hey, Justin's the brains. We will come up with stuff together, and when he asks me for my input, I'll tell him what I think, and then he'll make it work. But a lot of the times, I would have him take lead, because I know my role, and I know I can do my role very well. But when it comes to things making sense and being psychologically sound, I know he's the go-to guy. So I'm not going to let my ego get in the way of, I have to be, I have to get my ideas across. No, he knows what I do. I'll back up, let him do his thing, and then when it comes time for game time, I'm there to play, and I'm there to win.
Yeah, and to this point, and I mean, I hate to sound like the old dudes who talk about themselves wrestling, but we're right here in this conversation, so now's the time to have it. We both had that feeling. Like, I looked at Adam, and I mean, anyone that's ever seen Adam, he's 6'2", 245 pounds. He's jacked. He looks great.
Handsome as hell.
He looks like a movie star. So, like, when you give me, who's like a short, chubby heel who, like, I need to prove I can go with a guy who looks like he could be on TV, and Adam's also giving me the freedom to show, like, this is what I can do. We had a year-long program, and we wrote it out, and we had it set and everything. I mean, our crowds got bigger. That's the one thing that in independent wrestling, like, it doesn't matter, like, how much you make or any of that shit, because that's all subjective to everyone on the card, everyone's hand in the pot. There's too much of it. But the one thing we know is that from match 1 till the last match, the crowds kept getting bigger to see us. And it's because together, Adam was exactly, he said, the role he needed to be. When Adam's at the gym working his ass off to look as good as he is, I'm sitting there trying to come up with, man, what way could we make Adam look crazy strong to do this thing with this? We're working together. It's unique to have that kind of back and forth that we have had, where, like, we appreciate each other for the role they are and don't both try to be everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. I get it. What I love about both of your inspirations, because I asked you about, bodybuilding, I asked you about baseball, is that a lot of what you said was more about the philosophy. Like, your natural instinct for bodybuilders was a dude who, like, has a good mindset and philosophy. You pick Lou Gehrig, who's like, nah, I'm cool being, like, behind it. And I just love that that's both where both of your minds went, was just I know I'd rather have someone who's more philosophically driven or follow the philosophy of that person.
Yeah, and we were saying, I think I was thinking about it when Adam was talking about the person who puts out daily videos for bodybuilding, is that he picked somebody who, like, was a personal... You would choose that person to hang out with because of the way he acts.
Yeah.
And, like, that's how I try to choose not only friends, but, like, business acquaintances and anyone that you have to have conversations with. If the way you communicate with me isn't something that I'm comfortable with, I'm probably going to move on and look for something else. And that's kind of like you. Like, you found a place where you're comfortable with this guy.
Yeah,
like,
that guy showed up to a vitamin shop, like, in North Jersey, like, an hour from my house. and I drove all the way up there to meet him, and I didn't get a chance to meet him because he like had to catch his flight. But he was doing a seminar, and it was funny because the seminar is everything he's ever talked about. So when it was Q&A time, I was very frustrated because people were asking stupid ass questions, and it was like, if you guys are all his fans like I am, you'd know the answers to these questions.
Right.
But no, like you said, it's somebody that I'd want to hang out with. Yeah, it's someone I wanted to go meet. Hey man, thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's how we, Adam and I both, and I mean probably even you to a degree, Pat, are, is like we care about the person a lot more than like the content we're getting from them. Like if someone's the best bodybuilder by like a wide margin, generally accepted, Adam's not going to shun their opinion, but he's probably going to be more comfortable taking it from someone that he understands and has a connection with more, as long as he's getting what he needs out of it. It doesn't have to be the best. I'm the same way. Like I don't always pick the best, the general consensus overall best. I find the thing that's best for me.
Yeah, I like it. And then obviously, both you being wrestlers, is there any one or two people that you would highlight as inspirations for you?
You want to go first?
Mine should be obvious at this point. We've already had
The Rock and Batista.
Yeah, it was Dwayne Johnson. The other one I was gonna. Yeah, Batista's pretty cool.
I love it.
Man.
People get a kick out of that, by the way.
It's funny, as I was saying too, like with inspiration, mine, I have like different areas of my life for me. So like as a kid, I always looked up to The Undertaker, and like even to like a little bit of the Pat side of things. I was fascinated at how all those like little magic tricks were done as a kid. Really, like I don't know how The Undertaker ascended. I don't know how the lights went out and he was in the ring already.
He shot lightning.
Yeah, like I don't know how those things happened, and that kind of captured my like imagination. Like, oh shit,
We just talked about this the other day.
Yeah, we were talking about how like that you have to believe in it in order to like appreciate it. And so like as a kid, I was always like, man, I would love to learn the Undertaker stuff. That's cool. And then I got out of wrestling a little bit as I got older, and then my first live show back, it was Tommy Dreamer's last match on like ECW, like right before they switched over to NXT on Sci-Fi.
I remember that episode.
And it was
He wrestled Ryder?
He wrestled Ryder, and it was in North Jersey, and I was with my dad and my brother, and I hadn't gone to a wrestling school or anything yet. I literally was just like, my dad had just gotten out of jail. My dad's been in and out of jail my whole life. I talk about it very openly. But he had just gotten out, and so like I was like, all right, this will be cool. Me, my brother, and him will go to a wrestling show. Like we haven't done this since we were like little. So we went, and Dreamer was with his family after the show, like in the ring, and the reception he got was just overwhelming. And I was like, man, this is what I want to do. Like I want to work my ass off to try to get that reaction from people. And so then I from that moment on is when I started shopping wrestling schools, and then I found Matt. And the moment I met Matt, he was obviously the biggest inspiration of my career. If you've ever watched my work and then you watch a Matt Bourne match, like,
yeah,
I challenge you to not see the similarity.
Yeah, there's symmetry in it. It's beautiful.
Adam actually sent me a picture yesterday of Matt doing the whoopee cushion off the top to Bull on an indie show back in 2012 when I was still like hanging out with them. And I sent Adam back a picture of me doing the whoopee cushion in Hammerstein. My form is better now than Matt Bourne's was in 2012, and I always wanted that, and I used to tell Matt that directly to his face. Like that was the only thing I would nut up on. I'd tell him like, I'm gonna have the whoopee cushion better than you someday. So I did it. But yeah, no, he was a big inspiration for me, obviously, once I met him. But again, to the point of just like, man, he was just a person I wanted to be. That's all it was with him. Like, I didn't know Doink was an inspiration when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But the person, Matt Bourne, was an inspiration.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, when I was a kid, actually, Sting was not Surfer Sting. Crow Sting was like...
That's badass,
Yeah.
My brother was a big Goldberg mark as a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
My brother wanted to, like, tear people apart, and still can.
Let's see. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you for joining me. And
Wait, who's your inspiration for managing?
Yeah.
It's very cliche to say Heenan. I think everybody...
Is that your answer, then?
Appreciation for Heenan. I loved Heenan. I really did. But a lot of my inspiration for managing came from, like, Heyman in the early, like, 2000s. His stuff with Brock.
So, like, as a kid, that's, like, what you enjoyed?
Yeah.
That would be, like, your childhood inspiration when it comes to that?
Yeah, I enjoyed it because... And then, like, his time as GM, too. Because it was so Weasley, but so enjoyable. Like, it was so like...
Yeah, it's the kind of heat you want. You know, you want to watch him get his shit kicked.
Yeah, and everybody has a role to play in the show. And even back then, I think I kind of knew, what my role could be, not necessarily maybe what I would always hope it'd be, but a better understanding of what my role could be. And I thought that he was just a great performer for that. And then as I got into wrestling more and as I took some time to go back, I just got to see more of Heenan, and I was like, oh man, this dude just, you believe everything he says. You buy into everything he's saying.
Yeah.
Man, it's so crazy how this all lines up. So, like, Pat wanted to be a lawyer. His favorite wrestling personalities were, like, these slimy dudes. No, but hold on.
No, he's right.
But then we talk about, like, super strong support characters with Justin Pusser, like, and Doink, and even guys like Dreamer, who he was never really the guy.
I mean, even Taker, he was never champ.
Yeah. Like, so, like, Taker's a great example. Great support guy. You can put the belt on, but you always got something great out of him. And then me, just straight up superheroes.
Sting.
Rock. Cool,
Sting,
on the
Arnold Schwarzenegger, just
it's so true.
Larger than life heroes.
It's so true, man. And even like you said, with the baseball and bodybuilding and people of that nature, we all fall in line with who we feel we would jive with.
Yeah.
I agree. But anyway, then guys, thank you for joining me. This was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, this was fun. And please, if you have any suggestions for topics or songs for Pat to sing or anything, really,
coming back.
Let us know. Magic tricks you want him to try.
Yeah.
I want to see him do the one where he locks himself underwater and like I want to watch him try.
He's gonna die, but
I'll look away at that point so I didn't see him die.
Yeah, but at least he's
I'll take like an axe and break him out or something.
No, I'm not gonna get glass or water everywhere.
Yeah, why would we ruin the magic trick?
No, I'm not gonna break the illusion for everyone. We'll see. Maybe I'll save you. Just try it.
No.
You're the magician. You figured out.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Well, sure. Keep those requests coming. Justin's getting a big kick out of them.
I am.
So is Adam.
Big old kick, like Cristiano Ronaldo. It's a soccer player, Pat.
I know.
I didn't even know that, and I assumed it was a soccer player.
See?
All right. Well, in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, you have been wrestling with life.